Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Thoughts from the car today. I was thinking about how I've talked a lot about my rude brain. I've talked a lot about like negative thoughts and about reframing negative thoughts into positive thoughts. But I was thinking about it this morning. I don't know that I've actually ever talked about how to do that and how to support someone else who might be in a negative pattern, how to help them reframe negative thoughts into positive ones. So we're going to talk today about why reframing negative thoughts is a powerful practice, how to do it, and how to help others. So here we go. Okay. So reframing a negative thought is taking a negative thought and making it a positive, more affirming one, so that we can have more gratitude and we can live in abundance and we can meet our goals and achieve things in our life so that we have more contentment and joy and peace. Okay, so why this is important to reframe negative thoughts into positive thoughts. It's not just like, oh, just because you want to have sunshines and rainbows. It's really not about that. It's actual science about how it affects our minds, bodies, and literally our life choices. So when we have a negative thought or a positive thought, these thoughts in general shapes our reality. So what we think about influences our perceptions and our experiences in the world. Okay. So if we are constantly thinking negative things, then negative things are going to happen in our life, right? If we think negatively about something specific in our life, maybe it's relationships, maybe you've not had a good relationship in your life. And so you constantly are thinking negative things about people and relationships in general. When we're having negative thoughts about relationships, then what's going to happen is our relationships are going to be negative because that's the perception that we're creating. We create our own reality with our thoughts, negative thoughts and positive thoughts. That's why we need to take the negative thoughts and reframe them to be positive. It's a very, very powerful tool. It's alchemy, as you will, it's alchemy for our lives. This is how we create a better life. We alchemize it by reframing those thoughts. When we have negative thoughts and positive thoughts, it impacts our emotions. So negative thoughts lead us to stress, it leads to depression, whereas positive thoughts are going to promote wellness and happiness and peace and joy and contentedness. And it's going to propel us in a positive way in every aspect of our lives. Again, because we create our own reality. We create our own experiences oftentimes with our thoughts. Our thoughts, whether negative or positive, are going to drive our decisions. It's going to help us whether we are going to make decisions that are healthy and good for our life or not so healthy and good for our life, which shape all of our life outcomes in every area of our life, whether it's career, personal life, business life, spiritual life, relationally, like every area of our life is shaped by the decisions that we make. And so our thoughts, if we're having negative thoughts, that shapes what our life is going to look like, the outcomes of projects that we're doing, goals that we're trying to meet. But if we're thinking negatively about things, then we're shaping the reality and the experience and how it's going to be. So that's why we need to reframe those negative thoughts into positive thoughts. So what are some of the negative thoughts and what does that look like? Let's use some examples. So one I've said to myself, and I'm sure you have, is I can't do this. I can't do this because something's hard or it's super challenging. Whether it's something at work or a life situation, we've all said it. Instead, we reframe I can't do this to I can learn and improve the skill or this talent, or I can learn and improve in this situation. Okay. Another one is everything goes wrong in my life. How about we reframe that with this is temporary and I can overcome this. Right? And they're not just platitudes. Like literally what we say is what we end up believing about ourselves and about situations. Another one is I'm not good enough. That one hits me all the time. I reframe that one with I have unique experiences and abilities. I have unique strengths. I have unique talents and skills. So we reframe that with I'm not good enough for this situation or this person or this idea or this goal that I have. But I do have a lot of capabilities and strengths and experiences in my life that can help me, and abilities that are mine, that have been given to me. And by believing that helps me move forward to learn new things, to understand that things are more temporary than stagnant. Another big one is I never succeed. So we reframe that with I am capable of achieving my goals with effort and perseverance. Right? So perseverance, resilience, we've talked about that a lot. That means you have to have challenges. You have to face challenges in your life in order to build that muscle. So, and we reframe that with I am capable of achieving my goals, but I have to put in effort and I have to persevere. I don't want to just quit at the first get-go. And I think the last one that I think is a big one is I'm a failure. That one hits me. I've talked before, a 3-wing 2 on the Enneagram. So success is very important to me, but that means that failure or something that feels or looks like failure is devastating to me. So instead of saying I am a failure or I have failed in this, reframe it with everyone makes mistakes. And this is an opportunity to learn and grow. Okay. And it's not that we're lying to us because I did not say anything that's not true. We are all capable of those things. But what we are thinking and saying and believing about a situation is how that situation is going to frame itself, how it's going to show up. The perception is our reality. Our perception is our reality. So if the perception of ourselves and a situation is negative, then guess what? That situation is going to become negative. Okay. So what are the dangers? We've talked a little bit about why it's important. So what are the dangers if we do not reframe? Like there are actual dangers. Kind of talked about them a little bit. Quickly, these are things that like actually affect our body. Okay. When we are negative, they've done studies on this. People who have negative mindset, it literally ages you. It ages your body, and it literally breaks down your body faster because you're like, you literally make yourself sick with negative thoughts. Conversely, they have done a study that has come out recently that having gratitude and the positivity that comes from genuine gratitude literally changes your brain. And I don't want to say it's like a fountain of youth, but it kind of is. Like it keeps you young in mind, spirit, physically. It keeps you healthier and brings greater wellness. Okay, so the big dangers are it increases our stress when we are negative. We are negative, it increases our stress because when we're thinking negatively, we're constantly thinking about all the what if and all the things that could happen. And that brings increased stress because we're thinking about things that haven't even happened yet or might not happen, but we go into like worst case scenario mode. It increases anxiety and depression chances. I can't remember the actual percentage, and I'm not just going to pull something out of the air, but the percentage of people who have been officially diagnosed with anxiety and depression is very, very high. I want to say that percentage is almost half, if not more, as of like 2021 or 2022. Now, the people who have been undiagnosed officially puts that number of people who have anxiety and depression up much higher. Anxiety and depression is treatable. And for some people, it becomes a lifelong thing. And for some, it's like circumstantial, environmental, and can be cured. So, but having negative thoughts increases our chances of experiencing major anxiety and major depression. It reduces our motivation. Our motivation absolutely plummets. And this also affects our self-discipline. This affects just our perseverance, our resilience in order to be able to overcome It reduces that motivation factor completely. It impairs our relationships. Absolutely impairs our relationships. When we are negative Nancy, everybody around us feels it. When we are negative about a situation, it's like it transfers to other people. When I was going through burnout, I was also having some depressive episodes, and I was super negative at that time because just my life circumstances were just in the toilet, and I just couldn't cope anymore. Like, it had been so long, things that were just going so badly, and I was so negative at that time, and it literally affected my family. My kids especially, they felt it. And I'm still working to repair some of that with them, because it did affect them so much. And so when we are negative, we are impairing our relationships. We are hurting our relationships around us. And we have to take responsibility for that. And I think the last thing that really gets affected, that makes a danger for not reframing negativity into positive thoughts, alchemizing, is our physical health issues. I've kind of already touched on this about burnout. I was in severe adrenal fatigue. Everything around me was negative, and I was becoming negative, and physically it was affecting my body when I was around negativity so much, and negative circumstances, and like it affects your body. Excuse me. In your workplace, if there's someone who is negative in your workplace and you can feel that energy, for lack of a better word, it affects how you think about your job. It affects how you interact with your other coworkers, and it literally affects your body. It makes you not want to come to work, and you will get sick more often. You will get sick because it drops your immunities. Negativity drops your immunities. Okay, so those are the dangers. So how do we help ourselves? Like, how do we reframe and understand that we are in this cycle of negativity? Like, what do we do? How do we reframe negativity into a positive thought for ourselves? The first thing is we have to identify. We have to pay attention and notice our thought patterns. We have to have awareness. And when we can identify a negative pattern or a negative thought, then we are able to then challenge it. That's the second thing. We have to challenge that thought. We have to question the validity. Some questions that I always ask myself when I have identified and I need to challenge it. Some really good questions are: is this thought true? Is there evidence to make me believe? Is there true evidence for the reason for this negativity? Is this helpful? Is this thought a helpful thought? Is this actually contributing to my well-being, this thought, or is it not contributing to my well-being? And is this thought or belief that I have about myself, what am I believing? Is this necessary? Is this belief necessary? Do I need to believe this? Or can I choose differently? Like, do I have to actually, is this a necessary thought? Is this a necessary belief for my life? And then I think the last question when we're challenging ourselves is, what would I say to my friend? If my friend was having this negative thought, what would I say to them? Would I just let them go on with this negative thought, or would I challenge it? Would I ask those questions? Is this true? Is it helpful? Is it necessary? And if it's not, if I can't answer that, yeah, I would be totally okay with my friend thinking this, then I know that I need to reframe the way I'm thinking and that thought pattern. And the next thing that we would do is then actually replacing the negative thought with the positive thought. So, or a more realistic thought. Oftentimes, a negative thought is actually more, not that it's, ooh, you suck, that's negativity, right? But maybe we've made like an unrealistic goal, or we've made something that is just not attainable, right? Like, we're not able to meet the expectation. So then we, replace the negativity, or the thing that's causing the negativity in our life. We replace it with the positive affirmation, right? Or the positive thought. And we also are going to set a more realistic like goal for ourselves there, or a realistic thought process about the situation, a realistic thought about the situation. And then, like I said, then we also make sure that we repeat the affirmation that we are holding. So example, I can't do this. I can learn and improve. So we're going to repeat that. I can learn and improve. For me, that means I put up like little post-its with those kind of affirmations. I write in my journal, like I just write it over and over and over. And I might write it in different ways. So like I can learn and improve. I could also write it as I can acquire new skills and I am educated, like things like that kind of reframe the whole idea of I can't do this. So different ways I journal it out, because what we believe, what we say is going to be our reality. So I want my reality to be that I am capable and I can overcome. Okay. Let's see. Oh, also in there, I think an important part is to maintain, and when we've had a negative thought and we're trying to retrain ourselves to have the positive thought, is to practice mindfulness. And practicing mindfulness is not ignoring our thoughts, but being aware of a thought and feeling without any judgment. So if we have the thought of, I can't do this, I'm not then going to berate myself and be like, oh, Brandon, you're such an idiot. Like, why are you, thinking that about yourself? You know that you're absolutely capable and you can learn and improve to overcome this. Why are you doing this yourself? Because all that does is like perpetuate negativity. I'm just going to, with mindfulness practice, when that thought comes up again, is I can't do this. Oh, well, I repeat the affirmation, I can learn and improve, and I'm not going to judge myself for having that thought again. And then the last part I want to go over quickly is, because some of us are really good at this. Like I'm pretty good at reframing for myself, but what about others? Like how do we help others? Because relationally, like I mentioned, people who are around us who have negativity in their life, it affects us. It absolutely affects us. So we kind of have this responsibility. If we're able to reframe our thoughts, we have this responsibility to help others to also reframe theirs. So how do we do that? How do we help someone who is a negative person or speaks negativity and their reality is that of negativity? First of all, we need to be patient, because it takes time, whether for ourselves or someone else. We have to celebrate any progress that someone does have, and we have to make sure that we seek support for ourselves when we are doing these things. We have to make sure that we have support as we're going through this process of reframing for ourselves as well. The first thing is active listening. So we have to pay attention to what people are saying around us. Like we have to be able to pay attention and be able to identify the negativity around us. And I think when we're talking to someone and they are being very negative with us about a situation or another person or their life in general, it's important for us to reflect their feelings back to them. So we got to make sure that we understand what they're saying. So that means we repeat back to them, maybe utilizing different wording so that to make sure that you understand what it is that they're feeling and or saying about the situation. And then we follow that up with asking open-ended questions. Like the questions that I said is it true? Is it helpful? Is it necessary? Kind of questions. And we see how they answer them, right? And we don't judge. When they tell us about those things, when they tell us, about a negative situation, when maybe they say, yeah, this thought is true, or this is what I believe, or I don't care if it's helpful, maybe they answer that way because they're perpetually being negative. They're in that negative cycle. It's important for us to have empathy and validation for them, sympathy and empathy, because sometimes we've been there too, right? So we can understand. And so how we do that is we show compassion. We show compassion and understanding for the situation that they're in, right? As best as we can. There are situations we've never been in before. If you've never had a loved one die before, you've never been in a relationship that has ended in a certain way, if you've never experienced abuse or trauma in a certain way someone has, it's hard for us to fully understand, but we can still show empathy. We can still show compassion to someone who is going through that and they're having a lot of negative feelings and thoughts. We have to validate their feelings. When we validate someone's feelings, we're not saying that the feeling is right and that that is truth. When we validate someone's feelings, we're just saying, I see you, I hear you, and I love you. you are known. And that's what validating a feeling is doing. And that's super important because we all need that. We all need to have our feelings validated because we are our feelings. Like we were created to have feelings and emotions, and our feelings and emotions are held no moral value. So oftentimes we feel like our feelings are bad or wrong, or we're terrible people because of those feelings. But when those feelings get validated by someone, that helps us to be able to reframe and be more open to someone helping us reframe a negative thing into a positive thing. We have to avoid minimizing someone's experience. So again, we may not understand someone's experience because we've not experienced it ourselves, or we handled the experience differently. We cannot minimize their experience. We cannot minimize and say, well, you shouldn't feel that way. Or so what? That happened to me too, and I overcame. Like, we can't minimize that. We can't minimize what they have experienced and what they've gone through. Because that invalidates their feelings. That's not showing compassion. That's not showing empathy. But then we can also guide and challenge them. We have to ask those questions that I mentioned before. Is it true? Is it helpful? Is it necessary to think this? We have to question that negative thought that they have and then offer a different perspective. Like I said, if they say, I can't do this, I can learn and improve. Everything goes wrong for me. This is a temporary setback. So we have to be able to reframe it and then encourage them through those positive affirmations through the reframing. Let me think. And then we have to support and encourage. I mean, that's like a given, right? Like, we have to just be there for them. We've talked about this with people who are dealing with grief. Oftentimes the best thing we can do is not say anything and just literally be in presence with that person, silently sitting next to them. That is sometimes the biggest support we can give to people when they are in a negative space. Sometimes it doesn't require us to actually say anything, which is great. And we can encourage healthy coping mechanisms, so having a coping mechanism is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just when they're unhealthy for us that it is a bad thing. Because we all need coping mechanisms to human. The human experience is very complicated. And so there are lots of challenges and we have to have good coping skills. So if we can encourage the healthy ones for someone rather than and reinforcing negative ones for them, then that we're being a good help to someone, and that helps them reframe those negative thoughts into positive thoughts. And celebrating progress. Just like for ourselves, we need to celebrate our progress when we're reframing things and we're thinking more positively. We have to celebrate someone else's success. So if we see that they are doing well, then we have to call that out. We need to call that out for them. Sorry, my alarm just went off. And I think the last thing is about professional help. We have to help others. We can only help others so much. And then we have to hand it off to someone else if it's too much for us. We have to seek professional help for ourselves and for others. That means coaching. Oftentimes it means therapy and counseling for someone who just can't get out of that cycle. Okay, I talked a lot today. I am way over my time, so this video is going to be really fast. I'm so sorry about that. But here's the thing, challenge a negative thought you have today and start reframing using some of the techniques I gave you. If you are struggling that and you need some extra support, as always, DM me, let me know. I'd love to support you. And just see how your day changes today. If you actively try to reframe any negative thoughts you have, try reframing it, alchemize it, and let's see how the day goes. All right. Have a great Wednesday.